a nearly 5-star rating. Polar Dread is a Five Nights at Freddy's fan game that puts you in a winter-themed resort where you are trying to stay alive. This is part of the sit and survive genre, where you are potentially hiding under a desk from a massive mechanical bear. Sounds familiar. You can throw objects, you can throw the mascots themselves, you gotta close doors and vents, monitor cameras, and you're trying to survive in the morning until the clock strikes 6. With 88% 5-star ratings and a 7% 4-star ratings, this barely has any bad ratings at all. Not only does it have tons of positive reviews saying that's really scary, people mention a few glitches, but the developer seems to respond to every single review. If you've already worn out Five Nights at Freddy's or you haven't been able to buy it yet, this might be something interesting to try. We've talked about No Clip VR before on our free games lists. This was released last Halloween, hasn't been out that long. Considered a backrooms simulator, but in VR. This game has an unusual locomotion system where if you're running, you're moving your arms, you're hustling like you're really running. With a 4.6 rating, it's got tons of really good reviews, 82% of which are 5-star rating. People citing that there is a children warning. You might run into teenagers, you might run into kids, who knows where you're gonna run into in the backrooms, or it's so big and you never know how many people are online, you might not run into anyone. But it's said to have a very creepy atmosphere and scary entities that will try and chase you down. If you're looking for some free horror, this would definitely be one to check out. Cat may be a game you've never heard of because one, it's really hard to search for a game named just Cat. This is a Cat in the Hat horror game. Now, if you look at it, it really looks like a Slender Man clone style game. You're out in the woods, you are looking for 6 items, and then you have to banish the cat back into its box. The more items you find, the faster the cat gets. Now, with about a 4.5 rating, this one is mostly positive, 75% 5 stars and 16% 4 stars, with some of the lower reviews citing either it was too scary or not scary enough. It takes me back to the days of playing Slender Man on the iPad though, just looking at this game. There's links to all the games in the description if you have any trouble finding it to make it easy for you to find. Ayakashi Kitten is a Japanese style VR horror game. Only 8 ratings so far. I'd be surprised if anyone had heard of this game. Let me know in the comments. This is an adventure horror game where you are tasked with confronting evil spirits and trying to save the world. This is not only a haunted house style game, but they've added an element where you have to exterminate these evil spirits to make this more fun. With extremely few reviews, most of them seem to say the game is really good, but because it doesn't have subtitles, English speakers may not know what's going on in the game. Also, the main weapon you use, they say, takes too long to charge, and people want the game to be longer. But if you're a horror fan, if you're okay with the game being in Japanese, the menus can at least be made to English, or if you know any Japanese, this could be something really interesting to check out. I would love to not only hear what you thought of it if you tried it, but if any of you had ever heard of this before. Solicitude Wake Up has you awakening in an abandoned research facility, lying down on an operating table. You have to find your way out of the facility. You hear voices, you find monsters around every corner, and you only have a flashlight that has a limited amount of battery. You're searching this facility trying to find more batteries to keep that flashlight working, and then you are trying to find key cards to get through this. Now, this has a 4-star rating with only 16 ratings. This seems to be a game that is not very well known, but some of the reviews are extremely positive, saying it's really scary, it's really good. Others citing that it's just too dark. It needs a little bit more brightness to be able to see what you're doing, and there needs to be some other mechanics added to where maybe your flashlight recharges some when you die, because if you die and your flashlight's low and you can't make it to find another battery, you're basically effed. If you're gonna play it, make sure your brightness on your Quest is turned all the way up. If you're looking for a game to take a break from the really scary games on this list, Hordes is a VR wave shooter game that has you fighting witches, goblins, vampires, and other scary monsters. And it definitely has one of the lower ratings on the game list, although many times they specify this is a game in development and lots more features are being added as it's developed. You fight using magic wands, and they've added newer melee modes that they advertise can even give you a workout with over 80 levels of VR horror. You want to perform multiple kills at the same time to get even more points, and it even has original tunes in it. With very few reviews, some people say that it looks very promising, it's really fun. Others saying that they didn't care for the game because it just wasn't a fun use of their time. But for free, and something that has all these features that they've added, and even more features they're saying they're going to potentially add, like movement inside the levels, level editors, projectile weapons. It may be something worth checking out if you want something that's a little spooky but doesn't look too scary. Don't Upset Bobby is a puzzle horror game where you are tasked with 3 different puzzles that you are trying to quickly finish without taking too much time before Bobby, the scary monster in the room, gets upset with you. Not a very well-known game. This has only got 17 ratings so far with about a 3.8 rating. People saying that it is really scary. It is really fun. And the only negative review that's left said it was too long to load. The vision you see of Bobby here reminds me of a terrifying Garfield Halloween special I saw as a very young child on some very old VHS tape that was in my house. This one looks like that would take me back to that. It might be a little scary. It's really hard to find free horror games on the Quest, surprisingly. We need Phasmophobia to already make it over to Quest. But I'd love to know, what are some games out there that you've played that are scary that I haven't talked about here? I'd love to make another list. I know some people might say a game like Capuchin, that gorilla tag simulator where there are some monsters chasing you. Some people say that's a horror game. So let me know in the comments some other ones. But I want to say thank you for coming out, and I will see you in another reality.